Hi guys, today is Monday, March 23rd, 2020, and today for a skill a day video, I'm going to show you how to make Play-Doh at home. First, we're going to take 1 cup of flour. This works best to make on your stovetop in a non-stick pot if you have one. We're going to add 1 cup of water, followed by a 1/2 cup of salt, 2 tablespoons of oil, and 3 tablespoons of cream of tartar. Now we're going to stir this up over medium-low heat. And you'll see that it begins to break down into a paste-like consistency. Once you have all of the dry mixed into all of the wet, as it heats up, you'll notice that it actually starts becoming more of a mashed potato consistency. This is going to start forming clumps that as you stir, they'll stir back into the mix, but gradually the clumps won't stir down anymore. You can see it clumping together, exposing the bottom of the pot there. So this is becoming less of a liquid mixture and more of a solid as we cook it. I have seen different recipes online using different amounts of liquid and different amounts of oil. However, I've had some that work for a day or two and then actually mold in the bag because they have too high of a moisture content. So this is an old recipe that was printed on the back of a package somewhere that a friend's mom sent to me, and this is my go-to. This is the one that works consistently. I know that there's lots of variations you can do on Play-Doh. You can do edible varieties, you can do different scented ones, you can do all kinds of different forms of Play-Doh, but I always come back to making the same one. So you see now, it does in fact look like mashed potatoes, but across the bottom, it's starting to look like a dough here. If you've ever made a pâté au choux, it actually comes together quite similarly. Now as it's getting into an actual ball stage, we're just gonna stir it up, make sure it is in fact cooked all the way through. Now, here we have a clump of white Play-Doh. But what fun is Play-Doh without some color? So what we're gonna do is add a bit of a spoonful of gel dye into it. You can use just drops of food coloring if you prefer. And you're going to knead it into the dough once it's this stage, which helps because you can make one big batch of Play-Doh and break it up into balls and then make a whole bunch of different colors. So I'm going to stop this video, knead it in, and then I will come back and show you something else that you can make. Hi guys, we're back and we've got our Play-Doh all colored up and kneaded out, which is actually an important part of the process. You want to make sure that it's been kneaded so that there's no spots with too much color or spots that are dry or maybe too wet. So make sure you get the kids to play with it before you put it away. And when you do put it away, make sure it's in an airtight container like a Tupperware, or a Ziploc bag works well. Now that we've got something for the kids, I've actually got something else here for you. I've made up a white cornstarch based dough as well. This one is made using 2 cups of baking soda, 1 cup of cornstarch, and 1.25 cups of water. And you just mix it up on the stovetop the same way we did with the Play-Doh. But this one doesn't have an oil content to keep it hydrated. This one is actually intended for being dried. Okay, so some of the things that you can do with something like that, if you are looking for kid activities, we've done like animal tracks, you know, take their toy dinosaurs to walk in it, make fake fossils, leaf imprints are great. You can do their handprints in it, make a little ornament for grandma. They love those sort of things. But for me, I've rolled out here a little bit here that's not too thin, and I'm gonna just roll over it. I've got a laser etched rolling pin. So I'm just gonna go over top, obviously making this dough patterned here. And I'm gonna take a bowl and use it kind of like a cookie cutter. All right. Now you can leave it flat and use it like a trivet or a coaster, but what I'm actually gonna do, I'm gonna pick it up and I'm gonna lay it in a bowl so that it's actually flared out. And you can use this once it dries for holding rings or maybe as a pinch bowl. If you're gonna use it for any food applications or context, you wanna make sure that you are sealing it, treating it properly. Whatever context you use it for, just make sure that you are reading up on how to treat a porous clay for that context, because this is in fact porous, right? So it's not naturally waterproof, just to make that very clear. So one of the other things that you can do with it, because it's basically Play-Doh, okay? You can make it into different shapes. I've made little ornaments on my Christmas tree, little owls. I've seen little snails that hold onto the side of planters. If it's something that's big and round instead of flat, it's actually going to take a longer time to dry. And you have to be careful with the drying process. If you dry it too fast, it will actually crack or discolor. So you want to make sure that you're taking a slow, long drying process. You can do it usually at room temperature. Just leave it sitting somewhere undisturbed for a while. The other thing that you can do is throw it into an oven that's been turned off. Okay, you don't want it running and being too hot, but you can set it in there. I would actually recommend just doing the air dry as much as possible. If you do see any cracks in your project and you're really disappointed in that, I've actually found that patching it with just plain white glue works for a lot of those cracks. Now, obviously, this is a white dough. It dries quite white if you dry it slowly. You can paint it afterwards. You can dye it right now, but a lot of people like the white aspect of it. You can paint it afterwards and then do a sealant on it. So I found this is really fun for also jewelry applications. It's quite lightweight when it does dry. It is brittle, so you have to be careful of that. Obviously you can treat it so that it becomes more firm, but this isn't being fired like a ceramic, right? This is just a brittle, dry clay. So you want to make sure that as you are using it, you can do anything with it. Just make sure you're looking into the applications and what needs to be done for clay in that application. But I hope that you have fun, and I hope your kids have fun with the Play-Doh.